going on, everybody? It is Bailey there, back with another video. It's something that I've seen requested a few different times, so here we go. I'm going to be going over what I think you should know if this is your first time playing UO Outlands. Whether or not you are somebody who is brand new to Ultima Online, whether or not you are just brand new to the Ultima Online Outlands shard. Today we're going to cover a few different topics I think they're important for you to know, just so you can have a little bit more of an enjoyable play experience in the game. We're going to be going over some of the skills in the game and how they're maybe a little bit different than what you're used to, or if you're brand new to the game, kind of where you can find the information to kind of look up all those different skills. We're going to be going over some of the aspects in the game. There's a lot to dive into when it comes to aspects. We're also going to be going over some of the codices, kits, tomes, taming items that you need. There's a lot that gets involved into the game when it comes to the progression of your character. So if you're brand new to Outlands, coming over from OSI, this is something that is completely different that you haven't seen before. It's not something that's on the original shards. And if you're brand new to UO in general, or UO Outlands in general, these are definitely some items that you should know about before starting the game. Another one we're going to be going over is mastery chains. Think of this as like the thing that you're grinding to achieve throughout your time in Ultima Online Outlands. If you're focused on being like the best PVMer, right? If you want to be the best at it, and there are some parts of the master chain that could also be used for PvP. Don't say it doesn't, because it definitely does. We're also going to be going over societies and why I think it's important for you to understand them and know what they can do for you early on in the game. And then finally, at the end of the video, we're going to be going over what I think would be a good starter build, or how I think you can kind of make some of that starter money, starter gold. That way you can kind of invest a little bit of that into your main character whatever you decide to make. All right, so first things first, skills. I'm just going to pull up all the different skills that are in the game. All right. So as you can tell, there's a plethora of skills. If you're familiar with Ultima Online, most of these look pretty normal. But if you're unfamiliar with Ultima in general, this is a complete list of all the different skills that can be utilized in the game. All of these skills have slightly different uses as when compared to the original shard. For instance, camping allows you to carry more weight. So if you look at my character stats here, I can carry 690 stone because I do have 120 camping on this build. But instead of taking 3.5 hours and going over all of these different things, I think it's important that you understand where you can find this information, and you can read up on it, and you can have the most up-to-date or pretty up-to-date information. Because if I tell you right now that alchemy does whatever, there may be an update in the game a year from now after this video is made, and then you'll go back down to the comments and be like, hey, that's not true. So the easiest way for me to explain how you can find the information is if you head over to the Outlands wiki. I will put a link down below in the comments or the description of the video with a link directly to the Outlands wiki skills page. From there, if you just click on any ability, let's go with healing. If you click on healing, it's going to bring up a little summary page, and it's going to tell you everything that you need to know about how healing works and what it does for you, the minimum requirements that you need in order to use the healer codex, how it affects curing poisons, or how it affects, you know, PVM or even cross healing, right? It'll go over all those different things. It'll even give you a little rundown of what the healer codex provides for you. With that being said, I think another thing that the Outlands wiki does really well is it also has a skill synergies. So if you go to the Outlands wiki and you go to the link that I posted down below and you look underneath of the letter S and you look at skill synergies, it's actually going to list out everything that kind of works well together, right? If you look at wrestling, it'll tell you, okay, what can I put on my build that's going to increase my damage if I choose wrestling as my main offensive ability, right? Anatomy, camping, forensic eval, tactics, tracking, arms lore, chivalry, all those things increase my flat damage. What's going to increase my weapon special chance? Arms lore. What's going to increase my codex finisher chance? Anatomy, right? So this synergy page is a great way to go, okay, if I want to start a character, what main skills can I have that are going to synergize well with each other in order to have the most productive character? That way you're not running a character, or you don't create your first character and then realize after you've grinded some skills to 80, oh, I don't, or even to 100 or 120, oh, this doesn't even really work with this build. I've wasted all this time. This template here, this little summary of all the skills and how what synergizes well with each other is a great way to save yourself some time later on in the game. The next thing I'm going to go over here is I'm just going to create a new character. And I'm going to go over some of the things that you get when you create a new character. If you know who Tim Henson is, then leave something in the comments. All right, so we're going to go back to that. We're going to go chivalry. We're going to go whatever, discordance doesn't, I just want to show you why it's important to take let's go with magery. Why it's important to take certain skills when you're creating your character, because it's going to help you out later on. All right, so I've got Shiv, I've got magery, I've got necromancy. Don't follow this template as a build, just making it to show you something. All right, I've created my first character. I'm now on Shelter Island. First thing you should know is real quick, what I always do, I always just do this really quick. I make the game big. It just helps me out a little bit. I like to be able to see what I'm doing. You can drag some of these things out of the way. All right. So you want to stay on Shelter Island for as long as you possibly can, basically, because you can't use any of the vendors on Shelter Island unless you stay on the shelter. Once you leave Shelter for the first time, you lose your young player status and you no longer have accessibility to any of the basically just the vendors that sell things on this island. And then the next thing I would do is I would definitely turn on the this little tab here. If you don't have this up when you first start, if you click Control Shift at the same time, it'll bring this up and you can see how this is working here, and this will hold it open. So that's what you want. All right, now I can see some of these characters. There's a waiter here, there's a tavern keeper here. This is just an easy way for you to see where and what they offer you when you first start. All right, let's open the bag really quick so you can see what I was talking about. Okay, because I chose a character that had chivalry as a starting skill, I was given a book of chivalry. This is important because if I didn't choose it, I'd have to purchase this. And as a new player, you might not have the gold to purchase it. So you'd be wondering, well, I want chivalry on my build. How do I get... I can't train chivalry without a book of chivalry. How do I get it? I've got to go try to kill stuff without it. Same thing with necromancy. If I'm going to have necromancy on my build, I've decided that's what I want on my character, you should start with necromancy as one of your base skills, because you'll get a book of necromancy for free. It is blessed, you can't lose it. The next thing as a brand new player starting here, when you open up this bag, you're going to see some other little stones in this. This is an intelligence stone. Because I chose 2 mage type skills, I received 4 int stones, which if I double click this, it's going to add to my mana pool. As you can see, it went up by 10. You should immediately be using these if you're a brand new character. So now I have 60 mana to work with instead of 20. You also want to go ahead and use this strength stone, which is going to add 10 strength to your pool. So now I have 62. And I'm also going to go ahead and use my dexterity stone, which is going to give me a little bit of dexterity. Now, depending on your build, these things are going to change, right? These numbers are going to change. They end up, for instance, a mage is going to want 100 strength, 100 intelligence, and 25 dexterity. So don't look at this as a starter. Most templates or guides are going to tell you exactly what you need in order to make this the most efficient, right? This is me just showing you how these stones work. The other important thing, in your bag, if you were to be a straight mage build and you took magery, necromancy, and meditation as your first 3 starter skills, you're going to get something called a spell stone. What this does is allows you to cast a spell. Let's pull out a spell. It's going to allow you to cast a spell on yourself with no regions, which means it's basically free. In order to cast anything utilizing magery, you have to have regs to cast it, which can be further explained if you go to the wiki and you look up magery. It'll explain all those things. The next thing that, if you're brand new here, that I think you should know or understand is right here in your bag is a training credit deed. What this allows you to do, let's say you took magery, meditation, and necromancy because you're making a mage, or you took chivalry, swords, and parry because you're a dexer, and now you need to figure out how to get those other skills that you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my skills tab. It's going to give me the skills page, which if you're a classic UO or UO player, you're familiar with this. But if you're brand new to the game and you've never seen it before, this has a list of all the skills, right? So what you would do is you would click this group button. It's going to give you a new group. And what I like to do when I'm making a character is I like to drag what I want down into that new group. So I want Shiv and I want Arms Lore. As you can see, my chivalry is already here, but now I need to find somebody who trains chivalry, or excuse me, Arms Lore. So I'm going to look around on Shelter Island. This is the starter island. Nothing's going to happen here. There's plenty of videos out on Shelter Island. You could probably just type in UO Outlands Shelter Island, and you could watch a video all about this place. But I'm going to find this guy. I'm going to go, okay, he trains Arms Lore. All I have to do is click Train Arms Lore, drop the check on his body, amount to use is 500, which will give me 50 points, which is the most you can purchase. And I'm going to click OK, basically. Now I have spent 500 of my training credits, and I have gained in that skill before I move on. So now I'll do that until all my training credits are done and used. And then I can move on into the Shelter Newbie Dungeon, which is in the northwest corner of the map. The new player dungeon, basically, it's called Shelter Dungeon. And in Shelter Dungeon, all skill gains are increased. So you'll gain skill faster than anywhere else. And you can train your skills to 80 in that dungeon. There's also some target dummies and some pickpocket dips, and as you can see, there's a bunch of players training skills over here. This is another place that you can train your skills more AFK if you choose to do so. But remember, you can only train your skills to 80 on Shelter Island. So I've created my character. I've read the wiki and I understand some of the skills and what they do, or I've watched another video on YouTube, and I found a build that I want, and now I'm working my way on Shelter Island. I've got all my skills to 80, and now I need to get some other items, which brings me into the next part of the video: aspects. A system that's completely unique to Ultima Online Outlands is the aspect mastery system. If you're brand new to the game, either from OSI or you're a brand new player to Ultima Online Outlands, aspect masteries. There is a list of 23 aspect masteries. That's a lot of different aspects. But what you should know and understand, which this is something that you can go to the wiki page, because if I were to go over each and every one of them and read out every single thing that they do, this would be a 6.5 hour video. But what's important to understand is this is a big part of your character progression in the game. Aspects currently, prior to getting into any other progression systems, which I'll get to in a second, cap out at tier 15. So there's levels basically 0 to 15. And what they do is they offer your character some upgrades or some buffs, if you will. For instance, right now, this character, one of my characters is a discipline, armor, blood weapon, swords character. But if you look right here, this aspect allows me to have an increase in my armor rating bonus, which means my character gets a little bit tankier with each upgrade. It increases my weapon special ability and finisher damage. It increases my melee damage and resistance bonus, and it increases my finisher threshold, which means I could utilize my weapon finisher, which I will explain when I get to Codices. I can use my weapon finisher 10.75% faster than what is normally allowed. And if you open the game and you're like, okay, how do I see what these are? Above your paper doll, there's a little pentagram looking icon. If you double click that, or if you type bracket aspect, that will also bring up the gum. You can choose to see only the ones that you've unlocked, or if you uncheck this, you can see all of them. You can click the arrow over here to see the details, and you can scroll through them to kind of see what kind of character that you would like to build. Obviously, some of these are better than others, so therefore they're a little bit more expensive, so keep that in mind. I will also put a link to the Outlands portal, which is the in-game auction house, if you will. Or if you're coming from OSI, it's like our vendor search. So you can kind of look up the price of the items that you need to upgrade. These are called aspect cores. These are called aspect distillations. To unlock an aspect, do I have any of that? To unlock an aspect, you need 2 distillations, 4 cores, and an aspect kit. Depending on the aspect, this can cost up to medium range 180, 200, up to 230,000 gold to unlock an aspect. On the high end, that's like the most expensive ones right now to unlock is about 240,000 gold. But on the low end, there are some that are much, much cheaper. For instance, Earth right now, I think, is probably sitting in the realm of maybe 80,000 gold to unlock. So it fluctuates. Now, as a new player, you're probably thinking, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of gold. You know, I don't know if I can afford that. This game seems like it's too much. I can't play it. Well, before you stop, make sure you go over to the Outlands Discord, which I will show you right now how to get to, and I will also put a link down in the description. But if you click help and you click Discord, that's going to bring up the Discord page. And if you head over to the new player chat and you tell somebody, hey, I'm a new player, most of the time, somebody's willing to help you out. This game has a lot of really helpful players, and getting you starter stuff is usually not that. I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, so don't say like, oh, barely there told me to go to the Outlands Discord and somebody's going to give me, you know, everything I need to start playing. Maybe not. But there are a lot of helpful people out there that will help you get along. And the other thing is you can go over to the guild's recruiting channel in the Outlands Discord and find a guild. Most guilds are going to help new players out. That's just what they're there for. So, aspects. Character progression makes you stronger, lets you do more damage, lets your pets do more damage. Fortune, for instance, is increases the experience you gain, it increases the gold that you receive. There's a plethora of aspects that do tons and tons and tons of different things. So take some time before you go anywhere and kind of do some reading up and figure out, okay, I want to play this build utilizing this aspect, and then, you know, figure out how you're going to pay for those things later on as you progress. Which brings into another point, codexes. Another system that is completely unique to Ultima Online Outlands. In my bag here, I have basically every codex. So let's just take a look at one, just to kind of explain like kind of what they are and what they do. So if you get a codex, you're like, okay, I'm a swordsman. I took swords as my primary weapon skill. I need to get a sword codex. What is a sword codex? Basically, a sword codex is another small progression of your character that has five different weapon stances, and each of these weapon stances do something different depending on what the weapon skill is. For instance, on the weapons codex, there's an aggressive stance, defensive stance, cleave, warrior, and flaying. If you were to click the little blue icon right here next to it, and you look down in your system messages or in your journal, this one increases accuracy and damage by 3.5% per rank, but the player takes 1% more damage. So aggressive, you do more damage, but you take a little bit more. You could probably deduce at that point what defensive does. It increases your damage resistance to all enemies, so it makes you a little bit more tanky. Cleave, if you've played World of Warcraft, you know that this stance is going to allow you to do damage to multiple targets at once. Warrior stance increases your accuracy, defense, and damage by 2% per rank. Not a bad starting spot in the Swords Codex for the fact that it makes you hit more often, increases your defense, and you do a little bit more damage without any other negative side effects. And then flaying increases the damage done by bleeds, which the weapon specials for each weapon are also on the wiki. If you go to the Outlands wiki and you look up swordsmanship, it'll show you that the weapon special for that is a bleed. So this one kind of synergizes with the weapon codex, or the weapons skill. The next thing is finishers. I believe of writing this or making this video, weapon finisher has a chance to actually hit at 20% of the boss health. So once I've done 80% of the damage to a mob, and it only has 20% health left, I can now utilize a weapon finisher. One of them, in each weapon has a different one. So if I go to macing, there's pulverize and shatter. If I go to wrestling, Zen strike, right, you see each one has different finishers. So when you're making your choice, kind of look at all these different things so you can see, okay, what do each of these weapons do? And lastly, a new addition is abilities. This bar right here, this little bubble, the world is saving. This little bubble, as you're playing your character and utilizing at least 80 of a weapon skill to even unlock the codex. You have to have 80 weapon skill to have the codex, and 80 tactics, I believe. As you're killing monsters, this bar will fill up over time. If you look up weapon abilities on the Outlands wiki, they'll give a better, they'll give a definition of like how this works, but it fills up over time. And it's basically another ability that you can use, and they all have different, definitions of what they do. Some of them are better than others, but most people end up using one or two of them depending on situation. For swords, I like Spin Slash sometimes, but I also like Rend. I think those are the two best. Somebody can call me out in the comments, but those are my two favorites. So yeah, and each one has a different use case. So that's weapons. And there's the same thing for basically every... There's a trapper kit, right? There's a poison kit. There's an alchemy codex, which is new, which is really good if you're going to have alchemy on a character. There's a bard codex if you're going to play a bard. There's summoner's tomes. There's wizard grimoire. There's a ton of these different items in the game that you level up through playing with specific skills that will progress your character along, allowing you to do more damage, be a little bit more survivable. They're a great item to have in the game, and highly suggest saving up and getting those as early as possible if you're a brand new player. Okay, the next system that I'd like to talk about briefly is going to be the mastery chain system. This is the ultimate grind in the game, right? Aspects take a while to get, yes, but the links is what takes a really long time to kind of max out. Currently, before you get into the end game system, you can get up to 30 links in your chain. Which, if you look in my bag, here's a mastery chain. Right, I had a tinker make it for me. Right, so I have a tinker made mastery chain in my bag, and I have these bronze links put into my mastery chain. And what these do is allow me to do a multitude of different things. So if let me see if I can find them. There's tons and tons of different types of mastery chain links. Some of them do more damage on ships. Some of them allow you to do more damage to creatures that are bleeding. Some of them allow your followers to have more accuracy and more defense. Some of them allow you to do more damage in a specific dungeon. Some of them increase your weapon speed. There's a ton of different mastery chain links in the game. So you've made a Dexter. Let's say you want to be a Shiv Swords Dexter. Once you start unlocking more links in your chain that you can put them in, you can purchase links to put in said chain that will also increase your character's survivability, damage, etc. So you want to think about, okay, what link is going to do what I want it to do, right? For instance, this is my Backstabber's chain. I've been farming an ossuary a little bit, so I have some ossuary damage links in there. Obviously, I'm a backstabber, so I want to do more backstab damage links, and I like chunking health down to, on my first hit, basically as far as I can get it, so I have damage to creatures above 66%. There are other links that I could put in here. This is just what I'm running right now. But you can collect more. You can collect these links over time I've been playing the game for 2.5 years now, and so I've been collecting, links that I can put into my chain as I see fit to maybe increase, a little bit of damage here or there, depending on what I'm doing. So when you first start, because you're going to probably, if you're brand new to the game and you're still watching the video, you're going to go, okay, how do I get this? And if I don't have one, if I don't have a mastery chain in my bag, does it matter? It does not. Your character progress through this system is always there, even if you've never had a mastery chain. So if you start farming and you never got a mastery chain, when you get one, you will automatically have progress in that bar, regardless if you had the chain or not. So don't think you're missing out and you have to have one of these right away. You don't. You're gonna be fine. As soon as you get one, you're gonna see, hey, I've got some experience in my mastery chain. I can go ahead and start putting links in, or I can go ahead and finish that first bar. No big deal. I believe the first link unlock is at 500,000 experience. Experience is tied to the gold on the creature that you killed. So if you kill a creature worth 500 gold, you get 500 XP into your mastery chain. If you kill a creature with 2,000 gold on it, you get 2,000 gold towards your mastery chain, regardless if you have a chain or not. Which is important to note, that if you go get into a guild and they bring you to a farming run and they're killing a bunch of stuff and you don't even have a chain, you're still getting progress towards those things, which is what I highly suggest if you're a brand new player and have no idea what's going on. Get into a group and get out there, go farming, and have some fun. Get some XP towards that mastery chain. The end game is a system called the red line system. So after you have either reached tier 15 in one aspect, right? So as soon as you reach tier 15 on one aspect, you'll see this experience scaler go to 33%. If you have two tier 15 aspects, you get to 66%, and on your third, you get 100. Or if you get to 30 links in your chain, before you get even one tier 15, you will still get 100% in this bar. So for instance, I have 33% experience scaler to unlock a point in one of these dungeons, and I kill a mob that's worth 1,000 gold. I'm only going to get 333 gold towards this bar, because it's scaled down to 33% of the experience gain. So getting either 3 tier 15s on one character or 30 links across that account, that main account, will unlock the 100% experience scaler. Which then, as you can see, there's some other systems here in place. But by the time you get to, if you're new to the game, or if you should know, if you stick around long enough to worry about redline, you'll know what all these things are. But they're pretty obvious. Once you unlock 3 points, you'll get damage resistance cap, mana refund cap, swing speed cap. Once you get 5 points, you can unlock a 31st mastery chain limit. So you can then put 31 links in your chain instead of 30, which is what I was alluding to earlier. Or if you get 15 points, you can go to tier 16, which is obviously past that tier 15 limit that I was talking about earlier. Societies. I think these are incredibly important to understand early on in the game, because of the rewards that you can get from doing societies. So I'm going to go to Provalia. This is Prev Bank. I'm going to run to the east, and I'm going to take you over to where the society jobs are. This is the society hall. Each one of these characters here, NPCs if you will, provide let's call it a weekly quest, right? They expire on Fridays, depending on if it's daylight savings time or not. Depends on the time in the afternoon. It's usually around 7 Eastern Standard Time. I'm Eastern Standard, so it's 7 Eastern Standard for me. But that's when these reset. But each one of them give different types of quests. The first one being a Monster Hunter Society, which if you're brand new to the game and you're just farming dungeons just to farm dungeons, this would be a good place to start. So if I just kill 75,000 gold worth of creatures in Ossuary, I'm going to get 8 points. If I kill 75,000 gold worth of creatures in Shadowspire Cathedral, I'm going to get 8 points. If I kill 25,000 gold in Aegis Keep, I'm going to get some points. Same thing over here. Each one of them give a little bit of different types of quests. The Adventurer's Lodge guy over here tends to deal with like team mapping or doing resource maps, or there's some taming ones in here, and there's also some backstabber ones where you can steal some black goods and other items like that. The Order of Armorers is typically your leatherworking societies or your blacksmithing societies. Galvin is typically like your tinkering or carpentry. You've got your Artificer Enclave points, which is your alchemy and inscription societies, and you've got your Seafarer Society, which is if you got into boating or if you do fishing frenzies or other boating style societies. It's important to understand these and get into these as early as possible. My suggestion to anybody, and what I always tell everybody that's in my guild, is you should strive to get a tailor to 100 skill on all 3 of your accounts. Right off the bat. If you're a brand new character, just collect leather off the ground and train a tailor to 100 on all 3 accounts. Because what that's going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you, I say tailoring because it's the cheapest of the societies to do, and in my opinion the easiest, because you can, most of the stuff is very easy to craft. Most of these leathers are not that expensive, and as you play a little bit more, you'll understand it. And then the last point to this video that I'm going to do is the kind of character that I think you should make when you first start the game. But you'll see why I say tailor. But what it does is it allows you to get some progress towards points to spend in towards that society. So you're doing your weekly quests, if you will. You're saving up your points, and ultimately it's going to allow you to get some really nice items. If you're a new player, and you save up 500 points, you can get a strongbox customization deed, which allows you to carry more gold. It lowers the weight of gold. Or you can save up to get some of those mastery chain links that I was talking about before, so you don't have to purchase them. I always suggest saving up 600 points and getting a gold mastery chain link, because right now the market price has been anywhere from 3 million gold up to I think like 3.6, 3.7 million gold for a gold mastery chain link. So you're a new character, you put tailors on all 3 of your accounts. I also suggest putting a scribe and an alchemist on all 3 accounts, because those are all 3 things that are the cheapest to get to 100 skill level in. So 3 separate tailor, scribe, alchemists on all 3 accounts. And you're saving up your points. And in a couple months, like 2, 3, I think it's like 3 months maybe, is like the typical time frame. Maybe a little bit, give or take a little bit longer. You'll be able to earn one of these mastery chain links on all 3 of your accounts. Let's say you got them all to 100 at the same time, all 3 of your accounts, and you'd get 3 gold mastery chain links, and you would have, 10 million gold to your name. to buy a starter home, to purchase aspect upgrades, purchase whatever it is that you desire in this game, really. Whether it's you finally now you save up enough gold and you can get your first cool looking outfit or something. So highly suggest checking out the Society Hall, looking up some of the different things that you can do in the game, how you can use that to your advantage. I'll be honest, when I first started playing, I think it took me probably 5 or 6 months to start taking societies pretty serious. And I regret it because that's probably 15 to 20 million gold that I wasted my time not getting. So I would have made like a lot more gold and progressed my character much faster if I would have just done what I'm leading you to do. All right, so we went over societies. The last thing that I want to go over in this video, and I hope you've made it this far as a new player, and I hope this hasn't been too much information. It's a long video, I know. The last thing I want to go over is like where I think you should get some of that starter money should you just be a solo player and you don't want to use anybody else. There's a few different options that are out there, but the option that I typically try to get people to move towards, because it gets you out into the game a little bit more, is going to be a scavenger. I do have a video. I do have a scavenger video that I have put out. So if you're interested in making a scavenger, I have the build video already down there, and I go over it in depth. But this is my scavenger, and his only job is to run around dungeons, pick up gold, pick up regs, pick up leather, utilizing a skinning knife, and basically fund my society jobs. What this also could do is put some gold in the bank. There are a lot of experienced players that don't even carry the gold out. So you could run around, pick up some gold, put it in your bank, and make your startup cash by playing a scavenger. What a scavenger is, or what, like what I'm referring to as a scavenger, is going to be basically a build that has a 120 forensics. I like stealth and hiding because I can use it to get around the dungeons and not, if I need to hide and get away, it's there. I've got some parry, I've got some magery, some magic resist, wrestling, and camping. I can carry a little bit more gold. I'm a little bit tanky. I can run around and skin everything, and I can make some money. That's the scavenger build. There's also some other ways that people will suggest, whether it's making a miner and running, walking around the mountains and collecting ore and putting it into commodities and selling those commodities to players, which I can show you my miner really quick. So you can also play a mining character. Mine has all 3 on 1. So you can have a lumberjack, or you can have somebody who mines, and you can sell those commodities to other players. Can it be profitable? Yes. But I think as a new player, it can be a little boring. It's monotonous. But if it's something if that's kind of like what you're into, then a mining and lumberjacking character is perfect. I don't suggest this build as a beginning lumberjack or mining build. This is kind of more like I use this guy to do my resource maps, which is like a completely different system. And I don't really use him to gather. I find gathering to be incredibly boring and slow, so I don't really do it. But as of right now, during the making of this video, commodity prices for regular ingots is like 200k per. And each commodity has 5,000 ingots in it. 1 ore turns into 2 ingots. So you have to mine up basically 2,500 ore in order to make a commodity. And then lumberjacking, I don't know what the price is right now. They might be like the 140s, 150, 150K, I think, somewhere in that range. But yeah, I definitely suggest it a little bit. If you're going to make a gatherer to make your starter cache, I would make it either I would make it much more defensive. It would have, you know, tracking and maybe some more magery or healing to keep yourself alive. Yeah, and I think the last thing I'm going to talk about on this video is something I think it's important for new players to understand when it comes to character creation. A lot of people will come in and they will they'll make one character, like let's say they'll make a bard, and they don't really enjoy that template, so they create another character and they make a swords dexter, and they don't like that, so they make a mace. They make a completely separate new character, and he's got macing instead, and they make another character and it's got magery. That's fine as long as you don't invest a lot of the money into it, because you're going to spend, like I said at the beginning, if you want to make a character, unlocking the aspect can sometimes be up to, you know, 250,000 gold, plus you got to get some other items to increase your skill cap to 720, and you've got to get, you know, some skill scrolls to increase some items, to increase your skill level to a certain point, which can get to be costly. So each character can cost you millions, you know, $1 million gold, you know, but regardless, it's expensive to make a brand new character and start playing that character, investing time in it. A system in the game that Outlands has, if you're coming from OSI, something that's similar to that would be like an advanced Soulstone system. And if you're brand new to Outlands in general, this system's called Echoes. What this allows you to do is, don't worry, this is not how much it costs to get your first Echo. Each additional Echo gets incrementally more expensive. So the first one's $1 million, the second one's 2 million gold, next one's 3 million gold, the next one's 4 million gold, and so on and so forth. But the Echo system, what it allows you to do is create a copy of your build, and then you can raise and lower the stats however you feel. So that way you're not having to create another character. So what I would suggest is, if you make a new character and you don't like that character, stay on that character, just drop all the skills and put new skills on that same character. It might take a little bit of time to do it, but ultimately it's going to save you time because you're not making new characters and investing more money into those characters. I suggest the ecosystem because it allows you to have multiple builds on one character. So right now I've got this is my backstabbing build, but I could play a bard, a trapper, an archer, a harpooner, my lockpicker, a tamer, and my blood dexter. I've got all of those builds on this one character, and at the start, every 12 hours you can just change your character, and with some other customizations you can bring that timer all the way down to 15 minutes. But yeah, I suggest saving up some gold, or just completely changing the skills on a character and keeping one character as your end game character. That way you're saving in the long run money and time. Because I've probably wasted probably 10 million plus gold creating new characters, leveling aspects up, and then realizing that was a mistake because I could just put it all in one character. If you made it this far in the video and you wouldn't mind, you could hit the like button, you could hit the subscribe button, and if you wouldn't mind going over to twitch.tv/barely there, dropping a follow over on Twitch. That's where I live stream, and if you catch me during a live stream and you have a question, please feel free to ask the question. I will answer every question I possibly can to the best of my ability. Hope to see you guys out there. Have a good one.